The moment of truth for Bitcoin is here. In today's video, we'll be talking about how Bitcoin needs to bounce from this key level if we are to see continued upside. We'll also be going over the invalidations and talking about the most recent news in the industry, which is of course affecting this market. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Most importantly, let's take a look at Bitcoin here, because what you can see now is that we are at the bottom of the range. I talked about it in a previous video. If we were to revisit to this bottom level, I would be adding to my Bitcoin longs. And if you're in my group, you know exactly which positions I'm in. I actually entered a long right around 114.8K with my invalidation below the previous all-time high, which is around $112,000. Now, if Bitcoin is going to bounce, it will be at this level. This is a high risk to reward setup in my opinion, and so it makes a lot of sense taking a shot at Bitcoin here with a cheeky long. Now, in the meantime, if you're also in my community, you do know that I am shorting some altcoins and we made some significant profits doing so. But right now, this is high risk, high reward in my opinion, because we are officially at the bottom of the range. Now, the reason why this is very important is because we have the bottom of the range, of course, which we tapped into several times to hold as support. However, we also have a key confluence level, and that is the CME gap. If we take a look at the CME gap, you can see that it has officially been filled. So why is Bitcoin dumping past the CME gap ever so slightly? Why are we not immediately bouncing from here? Well, first of all, it takes a little bit of time to form these bottoms, if a bottom will be formed here. And second of all, we do have the stock market, which of course is heavily correlated to the crypto market. And so if the stock market dumps, which we can see that over the past few days, we had a massive red candle yesterday, and today on Friday, as I am recording this video, we have another red candle. We topped out right around 6,424 for the S&P 500, and right now as I'm recording, we're sitting right around $6,225. And so if the stock market continues to dump, unfortunately, I have some bad news. Bitcoin will be moving much lower, and the rest of the market will likely follow suit. However, if we start to hold support at this level, which you can see that on the daily time frame, we got a pretty aggressive wick here on July 16th. If we start holding here and we can bounce up from this level, ultimately crypto can pick up again. And we are at those key confluence levels as I just discussed. The bottom of the range and of course the CME gap has officially been filled. So can we move up from here? I'm still favoring yes. However, this kind of price action reiterates exactly what I've been saying on the channel, and that is that Bitcoin dominance will likely continue to increase as altcoins continue to bleed against Bitcoin. As you can see here, this weekly candle for Bitcoin dominance is actually looking as bullish as ever. And so when Bitcoin dumps even within this same range, of course, altcoins struggle. However, one thing I want you to keep your eyes on if you're an absolute degen, again, this is not financial advice, but I actually shared this in my group too, is whenever we get bounces from the range low for Bitcoin, this is typically a good environment to long altcoins. Why, you might ask? Well, if let's assume that this is the range that we've established ourselves in, and this is actually the bottom that we're currently at, well, because we are still chopping around in this range, altcoins can see a little bit of outperformance against Bitcoin. And so strong altcoins may actually perform well if Bitcoin confirms a bounce from this level. Keyword, if. We do not want to be breaking down from here, and we most certainly do not want to find our way back below the previous all-time high, which is around $112,000. If we start getting daily closes below this level, at that point, first of all, I would be cutting my Bitcoin long trade, and second of all, we would have to be reassessing the market. However, whatever happens, whether we bounce from here and have a successful breakout to the upside, or whether we come right back down below the previous all-time high, Bitcoin will be dominating the market, and Bitcoin dominance, in my opinion, as I've been saying time and time again, will likely continue to increase. And so this is what I've been trying to hammer down on the channel. Most of your exposure in crypto should be in Bitcoin. For some reason, this seems to be a foreign concept to many, but if you've been through several cycles, you know that this used to be the golden rule. 80 to 90% of your crypto portfolio should have been in Bitcoin because it minimizes your downside risk and it gives you most of the upside in the crypto market. Everyone was screaming for an altcoin season, but the moment that we get any kind of reasonable dump in the price action of Bitcoin, altcoins completely capitulate against Bitcoin. And it's going to be the same case if we go ahead and break out from here. Altcoins will underperform Bitcoin. The only period here where I think we could see some outperformance from altcoins, if you're a trader specifically, is if we bounce from here and Bitcoin starts moving up back to the middle of this range. That is when altcoins could likely get another decent bounce and Bitcoin dominance will maybe come back down before moving up higher. But ultimately, my base case is that Bitcoin dominance will be moving higher. And if you want exposure to the altcoin market, it should still be in ETH, in my opinion. My spot portfolio is still those two crypto assets, Bitcoin and Ethereum. That is it. It's very simple, but very effective because if I want exposure to that altcoin market, I have Ethereum doing the work for me. As we've covered several times, Ethereum is completely dominating the altcoin market as well. Take a look at this chart on the weekly time frame. This is the rest of the altcoin market against Ethereum. Complete domination from ETH. So why would I go ahead and exchange my ETH or Bitcoin for other altcoins when they will simply underperform? Next thing I want to show you here is we had around $800 million liquidated from the cryptocurrency market in the past 24 hours. And you can imagine most of those liquidations were, of course, longs. And we also have the SEC to host crypto roundtables across the US. With yesterday's video as well, we saw that they're going to be launching Project Crypto. And a lot of the tech companies yesterday had their earnings, which beat expectations basically on all fronts. So with all this bullish news, it's interesting to see that we went ahead and dumped into the end of the week. Can we get a bounce here? Honestly, I think that this is a high risk to reward trade setup. And so I would imagine that Bitcoin does stand a chance here. Let me zoom in a little bit further once more just to show you what I'm looking at. As you can see, right at the bottom of the range. And so if you didn't enter any kind of position, this is actually a solid opportunity to enter with your invalidations below the previous all-time high. Because if we get a bounce, which again is currently my base case, we'll have to see how that develops, we will likely grab a ton of liquidity because you can see that everyone started piling into shorts as well. $120,000 is a very high liquidity zone, plus the fact that now, even on the 30-day time frame, there are officially more shorts in the market than longs. As you can see on the right here, if Bitcoin were to go up, we could liquidate $17 billion worth of shorts. And on the left here, the total cumulative long liquidation leverage sits at around 15 billion. This was much higher than the shorts previously. But since this dump, everyone went ahead and piled into shorts. Everyone is currently freaking out. I'm just sharing with you the best risk to reward trade setups. And honestly, this is a solid zone in my opinion. And so that's why I'm trading this market in the way that I've been doing. So ultimately, you can do what you'd like to do. Nothing that I talk about on this channel is financial advice. I'm just sharing with you exactly how I'm operating in this market. We get to the top of the range and we get rejected, perfect opportunity to short altcoins. If we get to the bottom of the range and this is a confirmed bounce from here, then potentially we could be seeing Bitcoin crawl back up, grab the liquidity up to $120,000 before even potentially coming back into the range. So let's see what happens. Right now though, comfy in my spot positions, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I'll make sure to keep you updated as this price action develops. Something else I wanted to discuss quickly in today's video. So yesterday we had PCE inflation, which came in to 2.6% above the expectations of 2.5%. Then we saw that the rate cut odds were actually only 39% for September. However, if I refresh this now, we got some new data that just came out today. Right now, there's an 82.9% chance that we do have rate cuts in September. And why, you might ask? Well, we do have the non-farm payrolls at around 73K with the consensus above 100K. And so this lower than expected addition in jobs means that rate cuts could potentially be the move for the Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Let's see what happens. Will he actually cut rates? Because now data comes back and forth and it seems to be confusing a lot of market participants. But right now, as you can see, the odds are in our favor for rate cuts. Let's see how this develops, but ultimately a huge change of tunes since yesterday's PCE inflation data. Now, we also had the unemployment rate coming in at 4.2% with the consensus at 4.2%. And to wrap up this video, let's see what Trump has to say about Jerome Powell again. He says that he's too stupid and too political to be the Federal Reserve chairman. Now, at this point, he's been talking about rate cuts forever. And perhaps he's right, because now there's an 83% chance that we do get those rate cuts in September. I'll make sure to keep you updated as to how the market develops. As always, if you want to trade this Bitcoin range that I've been talking about, you have all of the links in the description down below. First of all, the first link is my free Telegram community where I talk about some of my own personal trade setups. Then you also have Bluffin, which is an excellent exchange, and they have a very solid bonus right now. You can earn up to $1,000 for making this deposit over here and trading as you normally would. Fantastic exchange, and I do most of my trades both on Bluffin and with the third link in my description down below on Weeks. And that sums up today's quick video. Bitcoin is at a pivotal level. If we don't bounce from here, things could really get ugly. However, we're just playing the probabilities. This is the bottom of the range, and we have officially closed the CME gap. If the stock market continues to nuke, then of course, Bitcoin will likely move lower and drag the rest of the crypto market with it. However, if we start to see some consolidation here, we could see an aggressive bounce back into the range and target that liquidity around $120,000. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.